work that goes into many of the student-produced products here at WCHS. Pirate Point of View is one of the more frequent ones that is a bit more well-known, whereas annual staff has one main final product that it is well-known for, and student council, which we are currently completely unaware of the happenings in that group of students.
Hi, I'm here with Davey Leith, one of the main editors for the Pirate Point of View class. Now, Davey, what's it like working on most of the videos that come through this class?
It's a lot different. It gets stressful because you have to deal with a lot of people, and different people have different ways of working. And some of them like to get stuff done early and then bring it to the editors where you've got your stuff and you can get to work and not have to worry about it. Other people like to sort of play around to the end, and then you have to catch up for their problems. Some people have really organized scripts, and it's really easy to go by. And then at the same time, you have others that are like, oh, I think we're going to do this, and you don't have a script, and you just have to run off from that. But all in all, I'm not going to say it's horribly challenging, but it is quite a challenge because you're having to not only make sure you have a good product, but a consistent product with different forms of people and different forms of video quality coming in.
All right, and now for the was it 12 or 13 last year, the school music video that we did?
Probably 2012, 2013 year.
Okay, well, last year you were the sole person to work on it and didn't have any outside help, and you only had like a week to work on it?
Yeah.
How did that feel, having just all the work dumped on you with no one else willing to help you?
It had it sounds weird, but it did have its good sides because when you're the only person editing something, everything you think about doing, you just do it. You don't have to worry about anyone else saying, well, I don't like the way you did that. Well, it doesn't matter because you're the one editing. And it was a large amount of work because you had to sync up video, you had to sync up music, you had to sync up lips to people that didn't have the same music because we had lost all of our tracks and we had to rebuild music that was different from what we'd used in the video itself. So that was a challenge, but the workload was big, but it wasn't unmanageable. And I got it done, and it was fun after I got done and I could sleep. But it was a big task, and it made me feel better about myself as an editor that I could do it, even though it was giant and annoying. But I got it done.
And so how did this year's video compare, seeing as to how it was changed in the way it was filmed, edited by more than one person, yourself and myself included, and it was just worked on separately from the entire school and only with Pirate Point of View. So how did that change in the final product as far as quality and ease of achieving that?
Well, it made it a lot easier because you had more to work with, and you had people that were exact on task that knew this is what I need to do, this is where I need to be, this is what the product I need to give the editors. And of course, there's always a little bit of planning problems, but we started ahead, so it was easier to get done. And it was a lot easier stress-wise and work-wise because you had someone to manage it out with and to get the final product out, which is good on every turn. And I think it was a lot better. And I'm hoping that it'll transfer into anything else we do this year.
All right, and for people hopefully coming into this class next year that want to aspire to be, say, a news broadcaster or film editor or anything of that nature, now this class is a bit harder to get into because it is the only class.
Yeah.
And this is only a one period event through the entire day. And so much goes on here that it can't just be trusted to any one individual without knowing if they're going to be devoted beforehand. So what would you say for someone who's planning on being in this class next year?
Be ready to work with time constraints. Be ready to work on schedules. And be ready to give up your activity period and your free periods to stay in and get what needs to be done. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is your final product. And that's a life lesson. And that you'll learn things like that in here. That's why it's so hard to get in here, because this isn't just a class that you're going to pass and then you're going to go on. This is a class that everything you learn here, you take on, which I look at that as I'm really blessed to get to be in here, because I want to go into computer engineering, and anything else I could do would be great, to work with computers. And this class prepares you not only just for stuff that involves computers or stuff that involves editing or broadcasting, but it teaches you how to be ready when you get out there. Because you're going to have a boss and he's going to be like, I need this done in this amount of time. And you're going to want to swallow your tongue and go hide in a corner. But this class teaches you how to deal with real life situations, which is working with other people that don't always get their stuff done and dealing with time constraints. And if you're wanting to be in this class, all I can tell you is to be ready to work and to have a great work ethic. And if you don't have a great work ethic, get one before you get here. And take that as not a warning to be like, oh God, this is horrible, but take that as something to strive for. That if I can work good and work well and be ready to do my best possible, then do it. And you can take that as an achievement to say, well, look what I've done. Because looking back now, I can go on YouTube and Google videos I've edited that I can look back and I've shown adults and they'd be like, oh, that's cool. Well, who did that? And I'd be like, I did it. And their eyes are about the size of marbles because they've never seen a kid do it. And it makes me feel good about myself. And that's what this class does. It teaches you things that you would never think you'd learn in school. So if you're wanting to be in this class, I applaud you. And get ready for what you're fixing to undertake because it's going to be big.
And for anyone who does come into this class next year, Davey is going to be the main editor, as I will be graduating next year, and he'll be the senior in charge of any Final Cut, which is the software we use to edit the videos primarily. I think we also have After Effects.
We use After Effects.
And Motion to add in just weird effects that don't make any sense, but they're cool because explosions.
Fireworks.
And this has been Davey Leaf, the main editor for the PowerPoint of View.
So Morgan, in being one of the interviewers for PowerPoint of View, what is the most prominent challenge in your role?
The most prominent challenge that I encounter is having other people be on the same level as you and being on the same page. Because usually you have all of your stuff together and you're ready to do things, and then other people are just like, and you're like, come on, but they don't. It's them keeping up with you and you not outrunning them.
Is it difficult to get people to cooperate and stay on task while you are trying to interview them, or do people normally contribute naturally?
It changes with different people depending on their level of seriousness and how much they care about the video that you're doing. Usually if it's someone who really cares and they either they don't understand what you're doing or they really do understand what you're doing, then they'll care. But if it's someone who kind of understands, but it doesn't affect them either way, whether it's good or not, then they usually don't have very good quality in an interview.
You aren't the only interviewer for PowerPoint of View. Is it sometimes frustrating to work with someone else?
Depending on the interviewer, sometimes I guess it could be, depending on who you're working with. But generally, with the people I work with, it's not that hard because usually the people we're interviewing is who gives us the problems.
And Chandler, as the other interviewer for PowerPoint of View, what do you try to focus on while interviewing people?
Well, I definitely try to focus on what the viewers are looking for and what's the most asked question that they're going to ask as we're watching this interview, and also what my responses need to be and how I need to react to the answers that my interviewer is giving me.
Do you have any trouble in finding a line between your personal interest in the topic and the professional standpoint that you have to take on it? Or if you don't really care about a topic, is it hard to keep on track while you're doing it?
Well, I think when I interview someone, I have already a personal interest in that. But, I don't have a problem with my questions the way I ask and my personal opinion or my professional opinion. I try to be professional through every interview. And I also feel that you have to be prepared for an interview. That keeps with the staying on track. If you don't have the answers and the questions prepared, then you're not going to ask the correct questions. And that can affect the ending point and the ending product of the interview.
Okay, this is for both of you. Are the two of you the sole editors, or do others come in to help at times?
Others definitely come in to help at times. So I cannot edit. I ask Morgan, I ask Davey, I ask all the other important people who are mainly editors. I ask them for help all the time.
I generally try to handle things myself unless it's just something that I've absolutely never done before and I have absolutely no clue what to do. Otherwise, I'll try to like work with it and try to figure it out myself, or I'll look it up on the internet, and if that doesn't give me an answer, then I'll ask someone else.
What is the greatest difficulty you experience while editing?
Time management. Managing your time and getting, making sure that you have your video done by your due date. And also the offline media files, trying to relocate your files if they go offline or anything like that.
And keeping your video and your audio in line together, because if they get separated and they're not together, then you have a mess, especially if you don't realize you've done it and then you keep working on and then you end up having to undo everything you've done, or you don't save something and the computer just randomly restarts, or you just don't have enough time to do what you want. You know what you want to do, but then you run out of time to do it. That's frustrating too.
And because you have been in Pirate Point of View for a couple years now, do you feel conflicted in sticking to the same format you're used to, or do you feel more comfortable in sticking to the mold you have set? That didn't make any sense. I read it wrong. Because you have been in Pirate Point of View for a couple of years now, do you feel conflicted in sticking to the same format for each video, or do you feel more comfortable in sticking to the mold you have set for yourselves?
Well, it depends on the video. I'm always trying to try something new, but if it's like a Pirate Point of View, we generally try to stick to the same format, but we do throw in some new twists in there to keep it interesting for our viewers.
It depends on the format of the video and what you're looking for in the video. The way I write them, I usually don't stick to any type of mold. I usually like to try different things and see what works best. It's just, I try new things, and if it doesn't work, then I'll try something else. I usually end up sticking with what has proved to be successful.
In your process of editing, how do you organize the work to keep from being overwhelmed by the quantity of raw footage that you have?
You just take a clip at a time. You drag a clip in. That's what I do. I drag a clip in, I edit it, I get it done, next clip. I put my transition in, pull the next clip down, edit, cut, drag, transition, next clip.
What also helps is if you're in the studio or where they're filming at, watching them film, you have an idea on what's going to be the good footage and what's going to be the bad. So it doesn't take that long to go through and say, okay, well, this is the bad part. There's a good part right after this. And so you have an idea on how much good you're going to have and how much bad you're going to have to cut out.
Okay, this is for separately. Everybody that is in Pirate Point of View class owns one of the Render Man shirts. What is rendering, and how does it affect the editing process?
Kill rendering. Kill it.
Rendering, how it affects the process, it's like rendering itself is like writing the video. Once you edit a part, you have to write it in. It's kind of like saving it, I guess, in a way, but it's very time consuming. Mm-hmm. And one clip might take 3 minutes, the other clip might take 10, also one might take 5 seconds. It's just very frustrating because you can't continue on with your work until you render your project.
And then with the media files that we import from Final Cut, if you move them any little bitty bit, you have to re-render them over and over and over again. And then if something changes or you have to rewrite it, then you have to render it again. And it's just very frustrating to have to do over and over again, but I understand why we have to do it, because you kind of almost have to change the format to take it from...
I don't want to do this anymore. This is hard. Everybody here at Winfield City High School has gotten a yearbook at one point or another. After high school ends, a person's senior yearbook is one thing that always reminds them of the friends that were kept or left behind. How can one book full of pictures hold so many memories and hold its sentimental value that can last through the years? Only the hard work of several students on the annual staff that all work together to produce one large work. That isn't the only thing the annual staff works on, however, and many students forget about this, or never know in the first place. Here we are with some of the annual staff members. Elizabeth. What is your specific role in the annual staff?
Me and Lauren and Emma are co-editors, so we basically do whatever has to be done.
Now, do you like rank up in it, or is it just something that the seniors get first call on their role?
You have to be in the annual staff for at least 1 year to be an editor, and you also have to be a senior. There's never any freshman or anybody new that gets to be one. Like Zach Hallmark is also a senior, but he's not allowed to be editor because he hasn't been here for a year.
So, is the annual staff like a self-motivated group, or does Miss Birmingham have most of the control?
Yeah, I'd say we're very self-motivated. You know, like we eat lunch. Our annual staff period is 5th period, so we eat lunch first, and then we go basically right back and start working on whatever pages we have to do for that day.
Since both of you are graduating next year, do either of you worry about who's going to fill in your shoes after you're gone?
I mean, you're going to worry about how they're going to do after you leave, because, I mean, what you set for that year is like your legacy, and you'll look back on it after you graduate. So I think they'll step up, and I think they'll do a great job after we leave.
What are some other projects that the annual staff gets to work on besides just the yearbook?
Mainly everything we do is for the yearbook, but we are in charge of like the pictures that every student has to take during the year. So we kind of run those, but again, that's still for the yearbook. So.
And we also do formals. We're in charge of making sure that everybody has their formal shot and everybody looks good for the yearbook.
Who decides on how the work is divided up, and who gets more of the load, or does anyone get more of the load?
Definitely seniors
Yeah,
get more of the
seniors
load. And the senior achievements and the senior quote, just the senior pages in general require a lot of work, and you have to be very meticulous about the things you do.
You don't want any errors or anything, and then like once we get our pages, the seniors get their pages, we assign pages based on for the rest of the members based on if if they play basketball, they might get that basketball page. So just whatever's most appropriate for them.
With the constant thing of having to meet a deadline, do you ever feel like this affects the quality that y'all can put out?
No.
I mean, we get stressed out and we get real panicky like when it gets close to the deadline, but it never affects how good a page is because we edit and edit and edit each time.
And we make sure that we have that we do everything we need to do for that day. We know when our deadlines are for the whole year. Like we have one in January, so that's our first one.
Thank you both for answering these questions.